Ooh, yeah. Plenty Pod coming at you on this Friday afternoon. It is around 5 o'clock. We had to delay recording for a bit. Hope everyone is doing well. I am here avec Cameron.
Hello.
How are you, Cameron?
I'm good.
Awesome. Glad to hear. Today, we will be talking about self-awareness. Thinking about, how your actions affect others and self-awareness, and it's good, and maybe being too self-aware can not be good.
Yeah, just in all its facets and how it affects your life, your friends' lives.
Responsibilities, emotions, relationships, whole 9 yards. We really get into it. We also talk about, in our opinion, the best game to be made for the PlayStation, which is Persona 5. We love our Persona 5 so much. So we talk about that at the end. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, all of the fun stuff. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and so many more. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere, baby. Hope you guys enjoy this pod. You got anything you want to plug or shout outs?
Shout outs to Snakebone, who's in Oakland.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up, bro?
He'll be back.
But shout outs to Oakland and California. California's chill.
Shout out the Bay Area. Shout out Sandro, my boy. Lives across the street, but goes to Stanford, so he doesn't live across the street. Also, just want to shout out Serbia. We have a listener in Serbia. So if you are our lovely Serbian listener, thank you so much. Please spread the word. I saw that it was in Belgrade, so spread it all around. We love Belgrade. Shout out Serbia.
Yep.
All right, y'all. This is the Self-Awareness Pod. I am Colin. He is Cameron. Enjoy. All right, y'all. So, we today are talking about self-awareness, and just kind of the different scenarios in which it's helpful. All is the answer. Why it's important. How it affects the people around you, how it affects your own perception. Your relationship with people, and so on and so forth. So I think a good sort of stepping off point is to talk about, self-awareness with friends. Why, in your opinion, is self-awareness with friends important?
I think that self-awareness with friends is important because there are a lot of times where you have to realize how kind of selfish almost emotions are in a lot of scenarios. And there are a lot of times I've found that when talking with people, especially in like emotional conversations, that you need to really consciously be thinking about what would be the best thing to say to somebody and not what would make you feel the best by saying it.
I like that. I also think, personally, just understanding that socially, especially, that, there is a social contract there, and having the awareness of like, what? It's not just me, and, I have goals, yes, but why am I going to get in the way of, what? Let me rephrase. I have goals. I shouldn't let those goals necessarily affect my relationship with people. And so I think self-awareness is important. That is that when it is starting to get frayed, when that relationship is starting to get frayed, it's important that you kind of take a step back and say, hey, what's going on? Why is this fraying? Am I part of the problem? Is there anything I can do kind of going forward that helps remedy this situation in a way that's productive for both sides.
Yeah, I think also like kind of riffing off that, like knowing when certain things about people change your opinion of them, I think is really important to have like self-awareness of, like knowing when someone does something that you don't like, knowing that you're starting to like that person less because of those things,
Mm-hmm.
and then being able to acknowledge them, and then whether or not you want to confront the person about it or maybe change your perspective on it,
Mm-hmm.
just having that choice and being able to make that choice.
No, my grandfather was calling me. Sorry, Papa. I cannot pick up the phone right now. So if there's any, buzzing heard, that's what that was. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, that was all you got on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's really about knowing how things affect you. It's like self-awareness is just, it's like introspection. It's knowing what affects you and being
That's knowing yourself.
Yeah, knowing yourself and being aware of how you're affecting other people.
Yeah.
And when you're aware of it, you can you can control it. You know? And I feel like if you're not in control, you can end up making social situations weird unintentionally. You can maybe say something hurtful to somebody that you may not mean.
I think it's also important with friends, plural, because to know how your actions and words affect a group of people en masse, that's also important too, because you could be alienating your whole group of friends if you say the wrong things, right?
Mm-hmm. Or just like completely switching the vibe.
Yeah.
When a lot of people weren't on that vibe, and all of a sudden you've kind of asserted the mood onto people that may not necessarily know how to deal with it. And I think we've all been on the receiving end and obviously on the perpetrating end of that. And of course, another aspect of being a friend of self-awareness is when you see a friend that does switch the mood or something like that, to know why they're doing it and to be inquisitive as to, oh, like maybe something's going on, like rather than just being like, oh, I'm irritated, they just ruined the mood. You know what I mean? That's another aspect of self-awareness, is the speaking and listening part are both half of the equation.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Please.
Do you have any anecdotes or personal experiences? You don't have to put names, obviously, or anything like that. But where there's been someone who's a friend, but you've noticed has changed the social dynamic unintentionally by what they're saying.
Oh, unintentional. I was going to tell a story about my own self-awareness or lack thereof.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I was a stupid person, and let that be known. I was stupid, ignorant, all the whatever adjectives that fit there. I was, and part of that lack of awareness was me not being aware of some people's sensitivities when it came to me using a slur. And I had no idea, because I did have friends that were like, we don't care, you can say it, like that's fine. And so when I didn't have the sort of awareness to be like, oh, a new person is sort of like coming into the folds, maybe it's not okay with them. And I didn't think I had, I'm a stupid ass kid.
Well, you have no idea. Like you're really determined by your environment. Like if no one says that something's wrong, how would you know it's wrong? It's like it's really impossible to kind of know. But having the self-awareness to think about it and to question it is something that I think we gain later in life in a retrospect.
Absolutely. And just personally, I don't know. I can't. I can't necessarily go back in my mind from however many years ago and say, you know, oh, I did definitely know this was right, wrong, or whatever. I feel like there was part of me that definitely knew, but it was the other part of me is saying, it's fine. Your friends are saying it's fine. Like, you're saying it, you know, you're fine. And man, it would have been real cool to kind of have the awareness to be like, no, you're being a jackass. Like, you are being a jackass, ignorant, racist, whatever. Like, not whatever, but I was being those things.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's details like that it's a small thing at first, but then it becomes a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
That self-awareness can be so important, because you could be making a mistake for so long and causing a fracture in a relationship that you don't even know. And then that's that, right?
Yeah.
You lose a friend and
Yeah, I remember you talked about off pod. We were like
off the mic.
You were speaking about how important like the details were, and I definitely like really agree with you, because self-awareness is like very much about like the details.
It's the little things.
Yeah, and it's not like you have to like overthink things, which is something I personally dealt with. Was like I would overthink things, and in that sense, when you're overthinking, you're not necessarily being genuine, and your awareness is being used almost against you in that sense. If you're not aware that,
what do you mean by that?
like if you're overthinking a social interaction or something like that, like, oh, what if I say this? Oh, what if I say that? Oh, what if I say that? Like, it's you're now in like more of a manic state where you're not in control.
And you're not truly being yourself.
Yeah, I'm not being me
right.
in that situation. I'm being in whatever I want to be portrayed as
right.
by other people.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, and self-awareness is understanding that. You know, it's like, oh, I need to dial back, like I'm being really internal right now and not in a beneficial way. So I feel like there are definitely more perspectives, like depending on who you are and where you're coming from. It can responsibility and self-awareness can definitely it can come in different forms and can be applicable to different people in different ways, but also being aware of that as listeners, obviously the things that we're talking about may not necessarily directly apply to you. Like, self-awareness is a very broad topic, and
yeah, that's why we have like our nice little specific roots here.
Yeah, that we're going to go on, that how it's affected our lives. But definitely, like, even if being less self-aware, you may not relate to that. Maybe it's being more self-aware for that you may need to think of, or maybe it's like being too self-aware, or maybe it's being too internal, or any time where you feel that you've lost control over how you're portraying yourself or how you're thinking about yourself, I think is the time where self-awareness is like something to take a step back and kind of reflect on, you know, in whatever form it may be for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to shift the dynamic here, and rather than just talk about friends, I think, you know, self-awareness in romantic relationships is just, or sexual relationships, just, you know, those kind of intimate, touchy-feely relationships. I think it's really, really important, because knowing when to put yourself first and knowing the other person is a person, I think is really, really important. Also, like, just knowing what works in the relationship dynamic is so important, and I think it requires reflection, like both in interaction, and when you're not together. Because you could be having the greatest sex in the world, or like be the most in love, But like that's one side of it, cuz
Yep.
check the hell in. And you know, another thing with self-awareness in romantic relationships, it's so helpful because it then allows you to be more objective.
That's so true. Like I can definitely see where there might be like I've seen situations where people have problems with their significant other
Mm-hmm.
and they're upset, but they're not trying to understand. Like they don't. First of all, they don't understand the other person's point of view,
Right.
which is something that actually should come after.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you think, like, even the most self-aware people, do you think they can truly understand another person?
I believe it is entirely impossible. I believe it's entirely impossible to understand oneself. Like I learn about myself every day, and living is the constant state of becoming. And who I am today is
I like that.
is a fraction of who I was yesterday. Who I am today is someone entirely different.
Yeah.
And understanding that and the possibilities of consciousness, which we can't even comprehend.
We literally can't.
We can't even wrap our brains around it. And
The singularity of thought.
Where thought comes from, how it interacts with other people. We really only have our own perspective. So like the concept of like when people try to understand others, there's a very stark difference between trying to understand someone else and trying to assert what they believe onto them.
I got you.
You know, that's one thing I think that's like very important.
It's a big thing that people do a lot without even realizing. Speaking personally, I know for a fact that family members do that.
Oh yeah.
Just they try, not they, but people think they have the right intention, but deep down it's like selfish.
Yeah, it's like there's an aspect of people, of humanity, that is entirely selfish, and being able to acknowledge that and move forward is very important. Because like sometimes I say something and I know it's selfish, but before I say it, I have to realize like, hey, this is going to be a selfish thought. Okay, sometimes that's okay. And a lot of the time it's okay, because you can't really be focusing on everyone else all the time, because it's 50-50. It's like half the time you want to be there, but also half the time you have to be you, and you have to like express yourself. And I think sometimes it's okay. A lot of the time it's okay to be selfish, but you just have to be aware that you're being selfish.
Yeah, knowing when you're being selfish and knowing when to be selfish are two very important things, I think.
For sure. Question for you.
Yeah, man.
Off the top.
Yeah. What you got for me? Wow, you got a lot of notes there, huh?
I have a shit ton of notes. That is
I have like a page on Microsoft Word.
I mean, like, to be honest, they're just like, it was like more stream of consciousness. So I just look at it.
You're just going and
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, questions pop up. It's whatever.
I got you.
But
what is your question?
My question, in relationships, in terms of communication, what specific things about self-awareness do you think helps communication? And maybe personally, do you think you could do better or would want to change in the future?
So this is another thing I was going to touch on, and I think it's a good tie-in, just kind of with emotions and your own self-awareness with your emotions. I think that you cannot, like, okay, let me rephrase. We are literally designed to be selfish, right?
Yeah.
We are inside our own bodies. Our minds are actually not capable of thinking thinking something that another person is thinking.
Yeah, we're incapable of hive mind.
We can have similar ideas, but we are not a hive mind, right?
Yeah.
So I think that having the self-awareness to be like, you know what? Like, I feel shitty right now, and I could just, I could tell my partner, or I could just kind of not, and the problem might go away, or maybe it'll fester. I think it's really important to know when to communicate how you feel.
I think that's super important, because like a lot of the times, like if you're feeling shitty,
Yeah.
that leaks.
I still got to answer the second part of your question.
Continue.
Well, I'm gonna, yeah. So that communication is so important, because you need to trust in the other person to not negatively react to your emotions, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So trust in them that they're not going to get upset at a certain way you feel. Now, there are certain exceptions. If somebody says, hey, I'm not feeling this relationship anymore, you're obviously allowed to be hurt, and you're obviously allowed to be mad, sad, whatever you want. That's an exception. But overall, I think when you have the awareness to be like, okay, I can go to this person with a problem I have, and I know that they're going to respect my space, what I have to say, and they're going to give me an answer that could help, and that is in the best intention. I think it's important to have that judgment of character, and I think that judgment of character kind of snakes into self-awareness.
Yeah, of course.
Because you see actions that maybe you wouldn't do yourself, or you wouldn't say, or something like that, and it's like, you know what? I don't like that. And, speaking personally, I think I can always get better at communication. I think I can always improve, because there are absolutely times where I don't want to say something because I think it could bother my significant other, or it could bother a friend, and I'm hesitant to do that, and then there might be a little resentment or something, because it's like, oh wow, like I really should have said something, because now we're doing something that I don't want to do, or I'm in a state of mind that I don't want to be in, or just I want to be alone and I'm not. Yeah. And finding those moments of like, okay, I should tell this person this, or, maybe this emotion is just like, it's passing and I'm really hungry and I'm just kind of being a brat. I think that's, the other end of it, where it's important to be like, maybe I'm just kind of being an ass.
Yeah, because I feel like we can't control our temperament to that. Like, we try, but like sometimes you're gonna feel shitty and sometimes you're gonna feel good, and knowing that when you're feeling shitty, you give off that energy, like big time. Like, and
even if you don't think so, even if you think you're good,
you can't fucking control it.
You can't because you kind of mope.
Yeah, and like it could be in your people are smart. Humans are smart. People underestimate, like, it's weird that when we're talking to people, we're not weird. I feel like this is always a weird like topic, because you want to say you, we, or I, but really they're all the same thing when it comes to this topic. So a disclaimer is that if we say I, we, or you, we're not talking about anyone in specific. It's just more about the concept, and this is an internal
semantics, baby.
Yep, very semantics. This is an internal conversation, so it's really just our opinion. You can take it or leave it. We're just sharing stuff.
Yeah, we'll go. You want to do one more?
Rewind back to you can't control what is how you're emitting, because when we are talking to people, we pick up on stuff. Like when you're walking down the street and someone gives you a look, that look can affect you for the rest of your day. So it's true. It's from a stranger. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, if a fine girl looks at you up and down, you're like, oh, I look good today. Okay.
Yeah.
For the rest of the day, you walk straight. You're like,
Random person goes, "Hey, I like your hood." You're like, "Oh,
somebody likes my
someone
hood.
likes my hood.
Awesome.
Maybe I'll wear this hood more often." Like stuff like that. And then we have the hubris to think that we're feeling bad and we can hide it. It's like there's really no way. Like your friends pick up on the
Slightest little shit.
inconsistency in expression. Like, oh, he's like not smiling so much today. Like, is something wrong? And then like the problem with that is that sometimes people will be like, if you don't say anything, it'll just start sending off questions in people's heads. Like, is it me? Like, is it something we're talking about? Maybe we should switch the topic. Like stuff like that. That's stuff that happens to me. Like when I sense energy from someone that may not be positive, you want to question why. But if that person's not willing to take the first step and kind of share, then you're both in limbo, and it makes the conversation and relationship strained.
Yeah, because nobody's really telling the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do one last one, and then we'll take a quick break. So this is one I like. Self-awareness with your parents. So growing up, this is a question for you. Growing up, let me rephrase. At what age did you realize, like, oh shit, like these are people just like me. They have their problems, their own emotions, their things they love. When did that I guess, concept clear your brain?
It's actually, I think it was probably in sometime in high school, but one thing is, it's probably sometime in high school.
I was going to say about the same for myself.
But one thing that I will admit about myself is that I'm still working on it. And it's something that I'm probably actually more behind on than a lot of people, because when talking with people, I didn't realize how much time I actually didn't spend with my parents growing up. And like I have a good relationship with my parents, but it was never a relationship in where we would share like super personal feelings and stuff like that. That was just like I had the option to, but it was just not it was never the vibe. It was just never it was just not.
You were never on the wave?
Yeah, it was just not the wave. So me learning that my parents were different people came from me realizing that I'm an individual.
I got you.
It was like that was the method it took for me to understand that, with like, whether it be like your parents in a relationship or something like that. Like I obviously had the understanding like, hey, that's their life.
Yeah.
Like I would never push either of my parents to do anything that they didn't want to do.
Okay.
And understanding that, which probably happened in high school, was important.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so personally, I don't. It was maybe sometime in high school. Maybe it was sometime after that. I don't really know. But I don't. When you're younger, you literally don't give a fuck. You don't.
True.
And it's crazy
true.
because your actions definitely have these consequences that you are not aware of.
It's things that you can say that you may think you may be able to say to your parent, but you would never say to a friend. Like your parent is just as much a person as your friend.
For sure.
Like they're it's like you can hurt your parents just as much as you can hurt your friends, if not more.
Yeah, because it's always the ones that love us that hurt us the most, right?
Yeah, and really understanding that your parent, like, while they, in a sense, are there to help and nurture you because they're your parents, that they also need to be happy, and they also their life shouldn't be focused on us all the time.
Got you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's self-awareness. Self-awareness that as we get older, which I think I'll talk about after the break. Self-awareness that as we get older, the responsibilities that we used to put on our parents are being transferred to us, and we have to let them go.
So I think that letting go is so important because it kind of frees yourself up.
Yeah, it does.
Because then, you could be a person.
You can,
Literally.
You can be a human now.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody who is definitely just, vibing.
For sure.
All right, y'all. We're going to take a quick break. Enjoy the lovely advertisement voiced by Stoic Lotus himself.
With the good beats.
Exactly. Shout out, James, the Jimmy Mac. All right, y'all. Welcome back. So I kind of just want to wrap up on self-awareness, and I know you wanted to talk about specifically responsibility in accordance with self-awareness. So the floor is yours.
Yes, this is about to be slight rant with questions. Shall be new, shall be fun.
Love to see it.
I did take some notes on this as I have had more realizations in terms of contextualizing how I've been growing as a person.
Okay. Like, can you give an example?
An example would be how I value my time. An example would be like how much time I'm spending with friends, how much time I'm spending playing games, and realizing what it means when I'm doing those things.
Okay.
That's not like a specific example, but I don't know how else.
No, it's kind of broad. I got you.
Yeah.
You're saying that you have figured out what your priorities are.
Essentially.
And now you just kind of need to allocate the time in stuff that's going to allow you to be successful and stay happy. Is that what you're trying to?
Perfect.
Bang.
That's a perfect interpretation of what
Bang.
I'm saying.
Like Mike Breen, baby.
Yeah. But how that relates to self-awareness specifically, I would say, is definitely responsibilities. And I have realized as I've gotten older, kind of relating back to when we were talking about our parents and taking some of the responsibilities that our parents had and having to do things on our own and really become independent, is that, the adolescence really, I thought it was in high school in terms of like, oh, you're getting older.
We're still adolescents, dude.
We're still fucking adolescents, man.
Yeah.
And to me, the most poignant change of me getting older has definitely been me being able to set my values and take responsibility for myself and really become independent. It's really been the biggest shift in my life, and the thing I've seen the most struggle with amongst people our age, and definitely the biggest struggle I've had in my life. And it's because, like, when you're younger, you don't think like, oh, I'm playing video games too much, or oh, I'm playing.
No, you're just doing it.
Yeah, because there's nothing. You're not losing anything. You don't have like the concept that this time should be used for other things. But definitely, these are the things, like playing video games, which is hard for me to do now. Like, actually physically difficult for me to play games and enjoy them.
Because you just have the voice in the back of your head that's like, hey, there's that comic coming up that you have due, and
yeah, it's because
and those stickers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
no, yeah,
it's like those are like, but also like it's like I have the stickers to do, but also I have a big project to do. Like, which one can I do for? Like, it's
and you like oh, there might be a show coming up, and I'm trying to market myself, and
there's so many aspects that you don't have to deal with, and I find that hanging out with friends, video games, whatever, it's cool to maintain my mental health and like maintain relationships, but understanding that those are like they are now distractions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
From
like
the real world shit.
And self-awareness is definitely realizing when I have the time to do these things and being able to choose when to do them and not feel the need to do them. And scheduling and stuff like that, my responsibilities that I have has become 100 times more important.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's important, just tying this back into self-awareness and more clearly, just the evolution of kind of like, oh, damn, like I can't play video games because I have to do X.
Mm-hmm.
And, that back of your mind voice is your self-awareness. It is your brain being like, hey, man, this is freaking great. You know that thing that doesn't make you feel great and that like you kind of have to do? Yeah, that exists.
Yeah, it's like that self-awareness is the anxiety.
All right.
In a way.
Yeah. You got anything else on it?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're just gonna go?
Yeah, I'm gonna just go.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So the second thing is acknowledging. And acknowledging the increasing responsibilities you have in life. And at some point, like even amongst my friends, seriously, like people realize that they have to make something of themselves. And there are many people that are forced into that early because of money, living situations, family. And so some people naturally have the instinct to take responsibility early in life. And those are the people that we see are more successful. However, now in this time where a lot of people are not struggling to survive, like obviously in some places, depending on where you are, that may not be the case. But when you don't have to struggle to survive, you have to come up with your own responsibilities by yourself. The world isn't pushing you to accept them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the difficulties in self-motivation and the necessity of self-awareness becomes more important than if you didn't have the push of life, especially with all the distractions of social media. Do people like my
There's
post?
a lot of distraction these days.
Like Corona right now. Probably Corona when this releases.
I bet it'll still be running.
It'll still be around.
It'll be running rampant.
I know, and it's people, and it really is, like, is this really important? Like, is freaking out about this.
Is platinuming Persona really that important?
Yeah. Is canceling whoever really that important? Like, whatever on media, whatever, And at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you're on track for making a living in the society that is based on competition, like hard work and profit.
Money and dollar bills.
You have to be able to support yourself. That's part of taking responsibilities, being able to support yourself.
And I think that knowing you have to support yourself, not just exactly. I don't know, that it's time to step up and it's time to, nut up and start working hard and move into your own place.
But also in terms of goals, knowing what's tenable for like what's realistic. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And it's like, well, at some point in your life, it's not as easy as saying you just want to do something. You actually have to plan and understand the difficulties of doing that. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of situations where, I mentioned money making people grow up faster. Money made people grow up faster because there are obstacles in life, whether that be money, time, security, talent, where they can hinder your completion of that goal. And growing older and self-awareness that there are some things that you actually may not be able to do, and depending on what situation you're in, or you might need some things depending on what situation you're in, is important. There are some industries where you can get a degree and get a safe job because that job is highly desired.
Coding.
But
If you're a good coder, good for you. That's all I'm gonna say. You make that
I'm
money.
happy that you like that. Like, so it's so dope that you can choose something that is actually desired by the world.
And you can like potentially work on something that you really, really are proud of.
Yeah, but it's like a lot of people around me are creatives, and that means the path is very.
Well, it's
not
different.
lit. It's not, but like it's just not clear. You know, it's not like, oh, if I work hard enough at school and I get a degree, I can graduate and get a job. It's not that easy. And so that for those people, my fellow artists, my fellow creatives,
Hello, creatives.
hello,
Thanks
my
for
fellow
listening.
Creatives, it is very important to self-regulate and determine what you need to do
Self-regulating is so important.
and how much time you have, so you don't look up and find yourself like at the beginning of a journey when you feel like you should be towards the end.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good place to kind of move on to our next topic.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Lighten the mood.
So our next topic, we are going to be talking about, well, I don't know. This is kind of, it's not a love letter, so to speak, but I don't know. We're going to be talking about the best PlayStation 3 game made. Yes, I said it. Yes, I played Spider-Man and I freaking platinumed it. Yes, Persona 5.
PS4 game.
I said PS4.
You said PS3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry guys. I meant PS4.
Whatever.
It's better than any PlayStation 3 game. Maybe not PlayStation 2 cuz PlayStation 2 had some bops.
Bangers. What?
But
PS3, PS4?
yeah. So, we're talking about Persona 5. If you guys do not know what Persona 5 is, it is a role-playing game in which you are a student and you kind of just live your life. You can romance people, you can go into dungeons and destroy shadows, you can fight the Grim Reaper, you can fight a god.
There's a story, a very, very like
Oh, it's so well written. My
very
god.
well written story in which everything that you're doing is on a timeline.
Yeah.
So you only have a certain amount of time to do things during the day.
Oh, and
And you have to be making sure that
you need hella self-awareness in Persona.
you do, that you can complete your goals while doing all the things you want to do by the time you reach the end of the allotted time for whatever goal.
Yeah,
you know?
So basically the way the loop of the game is essentially free time, and then you have a deadline in which you need to clear a dungeon, essentially. And during your free time, you can unlock abilities with friends in the game that give you powers in the dungeon, raise your stats, read a book, get a job,
watch a movie,
play video games. You can literally do all these things. You can go to the gym. You can do all of these things,
and they all have benefits to the game.
Yep.
To your abilities in the game.
Yep. It's I don't know. We're not gonna. We didn't really prepare for this one. I kind of wanted something light to end, so that talk about one of our favorite video games ever.
Yeah. Also, it's just like it's an amazing fucking game.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so well written. The gameplay is so smooth, and it is so user friendly.
Yeah.
It's so user friendly, and it rewards you for investigating things. It rewards you for putting work in, and the things that you invest in the game, you're gonna reap.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know. This is a game in which we personally have both experienced where the feeling of, oh, it's kind of late, I should go to bed, but let me just do this last thing, and let's say it's like 12:30 or something, and then you blink and you're like, oh shit, it's 3:30. What the hell happened?
It happens so frequently.
It does.
That like where the game is so good and it's so complete in terms of you're in a world where you're a different person and you're living a life that your real life time just snaps away.
It really does.
And that is the sign of an amazing fucking game, because the music.
Oh, the music is so good. And there's so much love put into it.
Oh, from menu screen animations to like different parts of like colors and design.
Yeah.
Like if you're a design major, definitely check it out.
Please check this out.
Definitely just check out the screens or the art book or whatever.
Or just go into Pinterest and type in Persona.
Yeah.
And you will see what we were talking about. It's a Japanese game, so it's gonna be anime, but like it still all looks so freaking cool.
It's so cool, clean. If you like music,
and it's actually better than watching
music.
anime.
Oh well, like to me, those are almost two different experiences. But
well, I think Persona, like, it's so much. It is so in depth and just the world pulls you in so much. I don't know.
I personally enjoy it more than watching anime because I just enjoy games.
Yeah.
But like, cause you're living it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's why I think it's great because there's kind of a sense of catharsis while you're playing.
Oh, for sure. Like the dopamine that you get from when things go well is like so hype. Like, you know, when you get
a critical, you're like,
yeah, and there are just things in the game that you can get that change how you play the game, like very frequently
and very quickly.
Yeah,
like you can be like, oh, I just got this. Now I can do this, and this, and this, and this. I don't know. We're not going to give much away. Shout out Makoto and Kawakami. Good waifus.
Good waifus.
You got anything to gush about over Persona?
I personally fucking love the art. That's as very predictable. But you know,
the artist loves the art.
Yeah, I mean, but like the way that they use shadows, definitely like colors, shadow shapes, tones,
action.
Oh yeah, the motion.
Yeah,
and just the very like noir vibe and like
definitely
sharp,
Sin City vibes.
Yeah, just very sharp angles and like it's to me it's just like very visually like appealing in every way.
Yeah,
and the personas themselves as
so cool.
Like your character can summon these
spirits. Yeah.
Personalities, I guess they are.
I guess they're just like, okay, so it's essentially like having a Pokemon, but like it's not in a Pokeball, it's like part of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a demon.
Yeah.
Sometimes a demon, but
you know, the original Pokemon was called Pocket Monsters, so.
Yeah, I mean like there could be like a goblin and there could be like a giant dick on a chariot.
Yep.
Shooting fireballs.
Yep. Forget the name of the persona.
No, that's an actual persona. Dick on a chariot. Not called Dick on a chariot.
No. What's the name though?
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't think of it.
But it's a screaming dick.
So. It is. There's like you can also play as like archangels.
Yeah.
And play as the actual devil.
Yeah, like great references to mythology.
Oh, all throughout. So many different cultures, so many different like I don't even know. So many different cultures, so many different just mythologies and stories, and it's just so well just weaved all together to just make a beautiful thing.
Yeah, but to kind of like top it off for people that may not even like video games that much, or maybe this is just jargon to you.
It probably is.
I mean, for some people, who knows? But like the story will make you want to play it.
And the characters will too. The characters are so damn relatable.
Are people, and you will feel their struggles.
Yeah, like they're actually people.
Yeah. So look out for it.
Look out for it. Take a peek. And if you're interested, look up the Persona 5 intro. It's like 1 minute and 30 seconds. And just check out check out the art, check out the music.
Yeah, just want to share our appreciation
for a beautiful game. Thank you, Atlas. Thank you,
Atlas. Like I think everyone can take something from it and enjoy it in some way.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't like anime, if you don't like games.
Yeah, like the narrative is beautiful.
Narrative, music, art.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else before we wrap up here?
You know, like maybe next, like another game. Talk about next time. Maybe Divinity is another game that we could definitely.
I don't think I like Divinity as much as you do. It's not that I dislike it. personally, like, I would put like Spider-Man ahead of Divinity. Like, Divinity was a very, very fun game, and there were parts of it where it was like, holy shit, this is awesome. But I don't know. Spider-Man was so good. That video, if you haven't played The Amazing Spider-Man on PS4, change your life right now. Do it.
Yeah. I think to me, Divinity was like everything I wanted in a fantasy game.
That, you know what? That makes sense for you, though.
Yeah, like it's literally all the capabilities that I've ever dreamed of, and I haven't even like touched the surface of like what the game is capable.
We beat the game once, and that was it.
Yeah, and we should definitely play it again.
We'll get back into it when maybe when friends are done with school.
Yeah.
And graduate and free time and shit. All right, guys, that has been the Self-Awareness Pod. And the little Persona 5 sprinkling. You got anything you want to plug or anything you feel you haven't said?
Yeah, if you guys have made it this far,
hello.
Through this, you're awesome.
We appreciate you.
And there is this is a very deep topic to me, and there are a lot of things that I would like to I would have wanted said to me, that I would like to share. So I just want to sum up my feelings on
just
it.
Get the let out, man.
Yeah, so this sounds really obvious, but knowing that comparing your path to someone else, even in the same field, is pointless to an extent, and just a manifestation of ego is really important. Self-awareness is realizing that, while we may walk with each other for a while in terms of our path in life, we're all on different paths at different speeds with random things happening to us that we can't control. Doors opening for one of us that might not open for another because of whatever reason. And looking back, I find myself really noticing how easy it is to subconsciously see others as people in your world when they're not. And everyone is living in their own world, and it's important to realize that when planning out your path, because so you don't get anxiety and make decisions based on a journey that may as well be in a different fucking dimension. You know what I mean? You may as well be trying to be fucking Jesus or Harry Potter. It's no different than trying to be successful like your friend or Steve Jobs. Examples are necessary for inspiration, general direction, knowledge. But even though you can follow in someone's footsteps, they'll always be in front of you. So may as well take everything you can from everything you can from the people around you and their journeys, but head in your own direction.
All right. Yeah, thanks again for listening, guys. We appreciate everybody's support. It means a lot to us. I don't know. Any shout outs, any plugs?
There will be one sticker design available by the time this pod drops. So look forward to it.
All right. Thursday. Be aware.
Be woke.
Be woke. Yeah. I don't think I have anything else to plug. Shout out producer Crayola. I don't know where you are, but I'm sure you're doing a great job, working hard. Yeah, thank you guys again so much. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram at plan_C pod. Huh? Plan C pod, yeah. 2 underscores instead of spaces. Yeah, check us out on Patreon. Hit us up if you hate us, if you love us. I recently checked, and somebody gave us 1 star on iTunes. 1 star. Hey, please tell us why. I would love to know. And if it's somebody who doesn't like us, you petty.
Yeah, but that's the plan, bro.
The Plan C pod. Have a great day and enjoy yourself.
Enjoy.